giving them something to discuss per group or per class, and then you moderate. You walk around and you provide instruction individually to the group or as needed. Small group discussion, you have 2, 3, 4 kids in a group, and that is a small group discussion. Sometimes if your class is larger, you can have 4 to 6 kids engaged in small group discussion. Pair or team discussions. It's really important to have those 2 people interact with each other and to have your teams and have them competing against each other or have them discussing things and being able to present it in a different way. Think, pair, share, one of my favorite methods. It's quick, it's effective, and you can use it at all grade levels. Moderating tasks. This is what you as the teacher is going to do. You're going to moderate tasks. They are teacher's responsibility during full group discussion. So you're going to orient the students to the objective of the discussion. You want to teach them, what are we going to get from this lesson? Providing new or more accurate information where needed. Do they need you to elaborate? Do they need you to tell them a little bit more about the topic that you have presented to them? Reviewing, summarizing, or pulling together opinions and facts into meaningful relationship. Oftentimes we present a lot of information, but we never tie it together. These indirect instruction methods allow students to ask questions that will lead to those relationships. Adjust the flow of information and ideas to be most productive to the goals of the lesson. You want your goal as an educator to be that the students get the objective of the lesson, that they fully understand what you're trying to communicate to them. Combine ideas and promote compromise to arrive at an appropriate consensus. You want to teach your students how to compromise and how to come to an appropriate answer, how to get along, how to use all of their ideas together. Okay, for small group discussion, this is one teaching strategy of indirect instruction. Small group discussions are great for discussing multiple topics in the same lesson. If you don't have a lot of time to cover a lot of information, you can divvy it up into certain groups around your classroom. You can give each group a different topic and allow them to discuss that together and then present it to the class. It's a time saver. You get a lot of things done in a little amount of time. Highly engaged students, yes, they're highly engaged because they're talking to each other, but your job is to moderate to make sure that they are staying engaged. For small group discussions, the teacher should form groups whose members can work together. Yes, form groups with kids that can work together. Your kids aren't going to get anywhere if they can't work together. You know those enemies in your classroom. You know those peers that just cannot talk to each other. So why battle? Just put them with somebody they can get along with. Distribute learners with diverse learning needs. You don't want a whole group of homogeneously grouped kids. You want somebody to be able to say, well, did you think about that? But you also want somebody to challenge or somebody who needs to be challenged. You need to have a diverse group of learning. Move among the groups to periodically focus the discussion. They're kids. They're going to get off topic. They need you to moderate their discussion. They need you to solve those challenges for them. They are at an age in our classrooms where they are almost adults, but they're not quite adults. And if you teach a lower grade, they can still get into fusses and fights, and they can still get along. So it's our job to know that they're age-appropriate discussions. Pair or team discussions, this is important. Similar to small group discussions, it's effective when you discuss writing. When you need somebody to write, it's easier to have a smaller group. One person can write and one person can research. These things can also happen in teams. You might need to get a lot of stuff done in a little amount of time. And you can have your teammates, you can assign them one thing per teammate, and then whoever's recording can just get feedback from the teammates. The teacher is teacher's role in this is a moderator, and it increases in proportion to the number of students you have. So if you have 10 groups or 15 groups because you're doing a pair, then you're going to have to walk around more often. You might spend a little bit less time at each pair instead of like you would at the teams. This is highly task-oriented. You want to give them a task to focus on, and you want to move on. You want to give them direction, but you want to let them get some inquiry and questioning going on with themselves. They're researching here. Research-driven. Like I've said, they've been researching this. If you have a project you want to give them that requires research, this is great to have discussions about a certain topic. Think, pair, share. Like I said, it's my favorite. I use it in 2nd grade and I use it in 6th grade. Sometimes we get so caught up in teaching that we forget to question our kids and see if they know. Then some of our kids are very hesitant to speak out loud in front of the class. So students can learn from one another and think, pair, share. They can also present their ideas to each other in a non-threatening context before they share it with the class. So if they are afraid to speak out loud, or if they are afraid to present something to a large group, Think, Pair, Share is great with that, because they can voice it to one person instead of everyone and get feedback from that one person. The teacher benefits in this because it's an increase of time on task in the classroom. These kids are highly engaged when you think, pair, share, because they're thinking together, they're paired up, and they're sharing with the whole class. You're getting your ideas flowing. You can do this at a small increment of time or a large increment of time. If you're in a kindergarten class, you might say, think, pair, share for 10 seconds with your partner next to you. If you're in 6th grade, you might say, grab your shoulder partner. Think, pair, share with them about this question or this topic and see what you come up with for 2 minutes. It just depends on the level that you're teaching and what you're teaching. You want to be able to get a greater quality of student contributions through Think, Pair, Share. You are going to get quality. They're not just going to be raising their hand and trying to get everybody's attention. They're going to be sharing with somebody else and saying, yeah, that sounds good. Why don't you say that to the class? Okay, examples of when to use full group discussion. When instruction is less formal. When you are not teaching them step-by-step processes. When you want them to talk about something. When you want to discuss something with them. Student-to-student interactions among large numbers of students. You have a lot of kids. You need them to talk to each other. You need to see if that information is being soaked in. Encouraging critical thinking? Absolutely. You want to give them a topic and see what they come up with. Encourage them to think for themselves. Engaging learners. If you get our generation of kids to talk to each other, you are going to get them engaged. It's our job as the moderators to make sure that they stay on topic. But if you allow them to talk to each other, they will be engaged throughout your lesson. Example of a lesson plan. You're going to give them the unit title and the lesson title. You're going to get their attention. You're going to inform the learner of the objective. You're going to stimulate recall of their prerequisite learning. What do they already know about what you're about to tell them? What are they going to build on? This can go for social studies, math, science. You can get their inquiry flowing. You can get their stimulation flowing. You want to stimulate them. You want to make them question. You want them to have ideas. Presenting stimulus material. Don't give them something that they'll be done with in 30 seconds. Don't give them something that's going to bore them. For example, if you're in social studies, ask why Pharaoh had many wives. Is that something that we have now? Do we have that in our culture as Americans? Give them stimulating information. You want to elicit their desired behavior. You want to communicate what you need from them. Do you need them to communicate in a group? Do you need them to have a pair? Do you need them to discuss 4 or 5 topics? Do you need them to discuss 1 topic? Providing feedback. Go around to your groups. Tell them, are they on the right track? Are they not on the right track? Do you need to move them further along? Then you want to assess the behavior. What's going on? Are they responding to you the way that you want them to? Are they communicating with their group members the way that you want them to? Okay, the comparison of indirect and direct. Once again, direct instruction we're going to use for facts, rules, and action sequences. How do you add? In kindergarten, we add with putting teddy bears together or checkers together, but eventually we have to make those representations numeric. And when you make those new representations numeric, you need to show them how to write that out step by step. So those things often use direct instruction, but indirect instruction has problem-centered, inquiry-centered, concept-centered. Maybe you have your small group at your table in kindergarten, and maybe you're asking them, why do I have 5 teddy bears? What happened for me to have 5 teddy bears? Did I put them together? Did I take them apart? What happened in the story? What did Pharaoh's wife do? What happened to Moses? Why was he on that mountaintop? Okay, concept-centered. You want them to understand a concept, one concept, so you center your whole lesson around that. Okay, brainstorm. What types of teaching strategies are you using in your classroom right now? How can you make use of indirect instruction teaching strategies? Share with your partner and the people at your table. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do that with your partner.